Defense in the backcourt is closely linked to blocking and includes digging against spikes and tips. In youth volleyball, we primarily focus on free balls, where footwork is key, along with falls.
Before moving on to volleyball falls, we must familiarize children under 12 with the floor. Young players often lack basic gymnastic skills, so we compensate for this deficit. We start with rolls while handling a ball and gradually introduce bump drills.
We begin with a lateral fall, as demonstrated by the Czech national team libero. Initially, players perform it on their knees, rolling over the thigh and hip without rolling over the shoulder. Players learn to fall to both sides. We then progressively introduce shoulder rolls, finishing on their feet. We simulate contact with the ball using an overball on the ground, training to dig on both sides. The other hand holds a ball under the armpit. Gradually, we transition to a volleyball, alternating surfaces for variation.
In backcourt play, proper footwork is crucial. First, players catch the ball without falling. Then we introduce a drill using an overball on the ground. Finally, we combine catching the ball with falling and immediately throwing it back. This drill helps players overcome the fear of ground contact as both hands are occupied with the ball. Gradually, we move to realistic digging situations. Initially, the ball is not airborne, but rolls on the ground and is popped up. We train this on both sides. Then, players dig the ball after one bounce, still practicing on a mat before moving to the court. Finally, we introduce decision-making drills where players must react as they would in a real game. Once they master the lateral fall, we increase the ball speed. Now, it's no longer just about tips, but also hard-driven spikes.
Repetition of falling techniques must be a daily part of training in all age categories until it becomes a natural skill, as seen in the Czech national team libero Milan Monique.
The dive is a more advanced falling technique primarily used in men's volleyball. It requires courage, as the chest is the first part to hit the floor. We start by practicing from a kneeling position, then progress to a one-legged push-off, and finally from a standing approach. It's crucial to prevent excessive arching of the lower back. Gradually, we introduce more demanding drills, which are safe when executed with proper methodology. A newer variation involves absorbing impact on the elbows, making the dive more viable in women's volleyball. Like the lateral fall, we train it with a ball, first after one bounce, then directly from the air. These drills prepare players for real in-game situations that they will encounter throughout their careers.
In addition to side rolls and dives, we add another essential technique, the pancake. This technique is used in situations where no other option is available, allowing the player to extend forward as far as possible and save what seems like a lost ball. In training, we focus on coordinating hand placement on the floor with the timing of the ball's impact. Players enjoy various coordination drills that help them develop this skill. Digging in defense is not only about falling, but primarily about stopping powerful opponent attacks. The goal is to eliminate the fear of fast balls. We start using an overball, training players to behave like goalkeepers in handball or soccer. Then, we transition to volleyballs and real game scenarios. Players learn to defend not only their immediate space, but also a 1.5-meter radius around them, just like in an actual game. Children must understand the difference between serve reception, which focuses on precision, and digging, where the goal is to keep the ball in play at all costs.
Now, let's discuss proper positioning and body posture for digging. Knees push past the toes. Shoulders also lean forward, aligning with the knees. Split step follows, ensuring explosive movement for any upcoming action, regardless of whether the player is digging with a forearm pass or an overhead technique. A player never knows in advance whether they will have to defend in front, above, or beside them.
In a real game, a player moves into the optimal position based on the situation. A crucial aspect is that players usually dig the ball after moving first. And once again, we highlight the split step. During a hard attack, it occurs almost simultaneously with the hitter's contact.
We must also include overhead digging techniques in training. Unlike a set, where the ball is contacted only with the fingers, in digging, the palms also absorb some of the impact. We start by catching the ball, then catch and release drills, progressively shortening contact time until players can effectively absorb and deflect. A key principle is to play the ball in front of the body for greater control. We continue with drills where balls are sent over the net, useful for both serve reception and digging attacks. Finally, we transition to overhead digging against real opponent attacks. The body and foot positioning are similar to forearm passing. Footwork must always precede any other movement. Men use this technique more often, but we work on expanding it into women's volleyball as well.
The wall plays a key role in digging training. From Czech tennis players, we know that the wall is the best teacher. To replicate real game situations, we also use wall drills, which add dynamics and competitiveness.
Next, we combine all defensive elements, digging hard-driven spikes, tips, and deflected balls. We focus on maximizing successful touches and varying the attack locations, forcing players to move and adjust positioning constantly. While repetitive attack sequences increase training volume, they do not fully simulate real gameplay. Defensive play means waiting for the right moment to engage with the ball, involving many movements that don't always end in contact. This is the essence of backcourt play. It demands character and mental toughness.
At this stage of player development, we shift from individual digging techniques, which must be mastered by U14 players, toward defensive strategies, which become the focus for 14 to 15-year-olds.
The key to successful defensive play lies in pre-movement and proper positioning. A player only gets a few opportunities to make contact with the ball during a match. Yet they are constantly executing strategic movements, many of which do not result in direct ball contact. To an untrained observer, these movements may seem unnecessary, but they are fundamental to effective defense and counterattacks. Great defense is the result of continuous effort, often going unnoticed and unrecognized.
Digging a spike follows the same forearm passing mechanics we have seen in serve reception and defensive play. There is no single universal technique, instead a wide variety of movements and adaptations. Reading the game and anticipation are the key factors, but thousands of repetitions are required. The speed of a spike is so high that the reaction must be automatic. This is why digging technique is sometimes not perfect, as seen in Janelli's form. The most important thing is keeping the ball in play at all costs.
How do you accumulate the thousands of repetitions needed? Don't waste time. Even during partner warm-ups, it is pointless to practice only soft passes. As soon as players develop control, we encourage them to hit hard, jumping spikes. This way, they achieve 30 to 50 contacts per warm-up session, touches they would otherwise not get in regular training. The most ball contacts occur in pairs, but the drills must simulate real game conditions, meaning hard attacks from a jump. When teaching young children the basics of defensive play and falling techniques, we could not spike at them with full power. By age 14, however, this is possible. A useful introductory drill is catching a hard-driven spike. Here, we see that the player's legs remain passive after the split step. This is why the ball lands just next to her, and she does not react. Therefore, we focus on foot activity, even if only in micro-adjustments.
The split step is the key initiator of movement. Against a spike, it must happen earlier than against a serve, as the reaction time is shorter. When the split step is missing, the result is passive footwork, which naturally leads to a missed dig. Even if the split step is executed, the player must not land on their heels, as this reduces reaction speed. Sometimes in training we use a mat to visually mark the area, helping players improve spatial awareness in play.
Repeated attacks from an elevated position allow for precision hitting and a high number of ball contacts. However, the defender does not need to evaluate the situation. They simply react mechanically. Therefore, it is crucial to teach players to attack after their own toss, so they learn to read the ball's trajectory based on their approach and the hitter's swing. We intentionally delay reaction time, making conditions more difficult than in a real match. In one drill, we reduce players' reaction time by having them close their eyes and open them only at the moment of impact on a signal. While digging drills come in many variations, they all share one fundamental goal: maximizing ball contacts. Pragmatism is even more important in defensive play, especially when a player makes contact with the ball using unexpected body parts, often instinctively rather than deliberately. For example, after a block, the play is not over. The player must immediately continue and attempt a dig if the ball remains within reach.
Defense is always a collective effort, and it must be trained accordingly. Hesitation between two defenders, me or you, prolongs reaction time, which is already minimal. If the ball is traveling at 100 kilometers per hour, the player has only 0.2 seconds to react. Everything must be instinctive.
Effective defensive play requires coordination between the block and backcourt players. Against double and triple blocks, it becomes evident that defenders are not positioned randomly. They are part of a well-thought-out defensive system.
Defensive play is not just about technique, but also about constantly analyzing the game. The libero reacts to a tip attack before it even happens, illustrating the importance of reading the opponent's intentions based on their movement, positioning, and subtle cues. A strong defensive player is not only capable of digging hard-driven attacks, but also of covering their own hitter effectively.
That's all for today's episode. That was a lot of information, wasn't it? Next time, we'll take a break from training and dive into the world of volleyball's most fascinating records, incredible facts, and curiosities that make this sport so unique